Hi, I'm Stewart Spinks and welcome to episode 308 of my podcast, Beekeeping Short and Sweet. We've had a mini heatwave, timed to perfection on the day that we planned to move our bees to the Borage. So we delayed, as we always have our bees' welfare uppermost in our minds. We did eventually get them shifted, and it appears it was perfectly timed. Beekeeping Short and Sweet, a beekeeping podcast for the inquisitive beekeeper with a short attention span. A beekeeper, in fact, just like me. This week's podcast is sponsored in part by Modern Beekeeping, suppliers of general beekeeping equipment, including high-density polyhives. These include Paradise National hives, Swenty polyhives, and of course Honeypore hives, my particular favourite. More than this, Modern Beekeeping also supply traditional cedar and pine hives, a range of very effective bee feeds called Apimix and Apipasta, and a full range of all the must-have beekeeping equipment for every beekeeper. For all your beekeeping needs, contact Paul at Modern Beekeeping by visiting their website www.modernbeekeeping.co.uk. Hi everyone, podcast time again, and it's been a high pressure week trying to get everything sorted. I'm actually recording the podcast mid-morning on Sunday, release day. Such has been the workload this week, and there seems to be no let-up at the moment. No complaints though, the season will be over all too soon, and I'll be lamenting time away from the bees once more. Before all of that, though, the main reason I'm late getting the podcast sorted today is I've been out moving bees this morning. The Fishing Lakes apiaries are in desperate need of a tidy-up, and I've left it too late to use my trusty little petrol mower and battery strimmer. As ever, I underestimated the time it would take to complete all of the other tasks this week, and as a result, I've been putting off the last remaining move of colonies out of the apiary so that we can get the flail mower in. I say we, what I really mean is Tony, the fisheries manager. The colonies that didn't get shifted to the Borage last week were a motley bunch of misfits and failing colonies. I have 1 egg-laying worker colony, 3 drone-laying colonies, a queen-right colony in the last remaining commercial hive that I possess, and 2 Swenty 14 by 12 colonies that form part of a new project. More on that in the future. All of these colonies are now over at the allotment apiary after a 5 a.m. move this morning. They say practice makes perfect. If so, I'm getting pretty good at moving bees these days, even though I say so myself. We've certainly moved our fair share over the years. This morning was, let's say, interesting. The commercial hive had an open mesh floor, otherwise a standard setup really, brood box, crown board, feeder and roof. As a last remnant of the old hives that I had, it just sat in the corner of the apiary doing its own thing. It overwintered badly, shrank down into a tiny cupful of bees, then went queenless. I added a queen cell from another spring swarming colony, and wouldn't you know it, she emerged, mated, and started to lay quite well. As it was a tiny colony though, it couldn't really do anything much, particularly after the appalling weather conditions we've all had to endure over the latter part of the spring. Anyway, they seem to have pulled through, probably because of my lack of attention and being left to get on with their own thing. Now, they seem large enough to actually build up through the rest of the summer, and I'm going to add an additional brood box above the existing one because it's just full of dirty, black, unworkable comb. Now, the reason I mentioned that it was interesting is that they're on an open mesh floor, and the open mesh at the back is secured normally with drawing pins. Well, they'd popped open, and several of the workers decided that as I was unloading, they'd come out and say hello. No damage done though, and we managed to get them settled quite well. Just thinking about this colony, it's a great example of why I really shouldn't bother with such a colony in the spring and simply shake them out, clean the equipment and start again. But for anyone simply interested in keeping a few colonies of honeybees, it shows that even the smallest colony, given a little time and a new queen, can rebuild and can survive. If you're working to produce a large crop of honey and produce some kind of income from your beekeeping, then I would suggest the shake out and begin again routine is the best option. But if you're, as it were, a backyard beekeeper, a hobbyist enjoying beekeeping for beekeeping's sake, then a little TLC and patience will often produce positive results. I'll shoot a video and show you what I'm talking about in the next week or two. The other problematic colonies that I've moved just need dealing with, and the best way to deal with them is to shake them out and start again. The drone-laying colonies are too far gone to be of any use, and the frames, now covered in spotty drone brood, are simply not worth holding on to. The egg-laying worker colony is an interesting one. Interesting in that when I opened the entrance at the allotment apiary this morning, they went into crazy chase me down the garden path mode. Luckily, it was very early and there weren't any gardeners tending their allotment plots around at the time, so hopefully they've calmed down a little. It was my intention to take them to our isolation apiary and deal with them there, but that apiary is too close to the fishing lakes apiary and would have seen bees potentially flying back to their original apiary site. Not what I wanted, with the tractor and flail mower rumbling around. The egg-laying worker colony could be united with another colony, but this would have to be a very strong colony so that the queen-right colony workers could dominate the egg-laying worker colony and stop those egg-producing workers from laying. I suspect it would be a ruthless, no-nonsense approach that the queen-right colony would take in shutting down these egg-laying workers. The natural world is brutal, isn't it? Other queen-right colonies at the allotment apiary are destined to have another move, as the local council team want me to move my apiary from its current position, high on the hill, to an actual allotment plot about 20 metres away. In this instance, I have no doubt foraging bees would definitely overshoot the new location and go back to the original apiary site, so they will all have to put up with another move in a few weeks' time. Hopefully, it will be after the end of July. This apiary is very productive for us, and the queen-right colonies should produce a super or two of honey if left to forage for a while. It feels like I have a lot of plates spinning at the moment. At least they're spinning and not falling down. Not just yet, at any rate. There's an entire calendar of work all set up to happen over the next few weeks, and this morning's move is an important first step. With the bees away from the fishing lakes apiary, I'm able to